What do you do in secret that makes you proud?
Proud? Um,
Or that you're proud of?
Most of my accomplishments I have done in secret because they're things that I have to like tell other people if I want them to know. Um,
That's a good answer.
I think that practicing my recent speech was something that I did a lot in secret. We don't really show. I mean, there are videos of people doing prep work and all that other stuff, but
Hmm.
um, I think most recently, probably being consistent with practicing my speech for the webinar was probably one of the most recent things that I did that I was really proud of myself for.
That's good. Did
Yeah.
you pat yourself on the back for that? Or have you?
I haven't really pat myself on the back. It took, well, because we talked about, celebrating the moments and the big
Hmm.
wins as well as the small ones. And I believe that once I didn't want to celebrate just because I was consistent for a few weeks because I had a few weeks to prepare.
Hmm.
So I was consistent in practicing for a few weeks, but I didn't want to celebrate until after the webinar was over.
Right.
So the consistency in practice, I just went to bed at night just knowing that I did it and felt really good that I accomplished practicing for the day.
And that you stuck with it.
Hmm.
And okay, all right.
Yeah. So I like that question.
See, random question generator. See, it works.
Hey
Are you gonna
everyone,
make?
welcome.
Okay.
I'm
Oh,
sorry,
sorry. I
what?
didn't know if you were gonna make me answer it. No,
Oh, I
continue with
was
the introduction.
I was going to do the intro, but then also I was going to have you ask a question. I mean, answer a question. So,
Oh, okay.
do you want me to ask you a question first and then I do
No,
the intro?
no, I don't actually. I just wasn't sure what format we were doing this time. So go on.
As you can all can see, we don't discuss beforehand. We just hit record and then it just happens. But thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Take a Space Podcast. I am your host Leah and joined by Jason, my co-star. How are you?
I'm actually doing good. I had an early morning. Had to get up at 7:30 for a virtual institute and interface with a bunch of people who had a lot more energy than me because they're on East Coast time.
Oh
So,
gosh.
yeah,
Yes.
but my morning resentment it faded quickly because I knew I signed up for it and it's okay. It's 4 days. It's a 4-day institute.
Knowing that you're a night owl, how do you prepare yourself for these stints of early mornings?
My preparation has evolved over the years. As I've talked about before on here, there was a point in time where I was teaching at 7:30 in the morning. Yeah, 7:30 classes. Not going to sleep until like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning because I'm a night person. But before it would just be like a lot of resentment and stuff. Just like literally when I would wake up, I would just be very annoyed the entire time, and then I would be energized by my students. And so like
Hmm.
halfway through the semester, that would sort of energize me like, oh, okay, I'm going to see this student. I'm going to figure out how they evolved. So that's how it was before. It was more external motivations. Now it's more so like this morning, I knew I had to be up early anyway. I automatically wake up at 7:30 anyway, and I just lay there for a while. So I'm like, okay, I'll just lay here for a minute, and then I know by this time I have to be out of bed so I can brush my teeth and look like I've been up for a while before I meet with these people. So really, it's honestly I'm at the point in my life where I'm like, okay, if I have to get up early, I'm gonna complain about it, and everybody's gonna hear me complain about it. But everybody knows that I'm gonna come through with it anyway. Like, okay, I'm gonna complain about it, but I'm gonna get it done. I'm gonna do it. Like when we went to Disneyland a few weeks ago, they wanted to leave at 5:30 in the morning, so we left at 5:30 in the morning. They knew not to talk to me. They knew they knew not to wake me up before I got up on my own. But Yeah, it's just accepting that I'm not a morning person and still following through on it when I have a commitment early in the morning.
And honoring that commitment, I think that's
Yeah,
really important.
yeah. If I commit to something, if I say I'm going to do something, I stick with it because one, I don't like to let people down, and then two, you're only as good as your word. Ooh, God, sorry, I just had a flashback to my mom saying that.
But it's so true though.
It is.
It's so true, especially in today's world where everybody's looking for the next best thing, where people are hardly ever committing to any plans.
Mm-hmm.
It's made it really hard for, I think, people to connect with others and really facilitate good, healthy relationships because people are just like, well, I mean, I'll think about going to this thing, but if something comes along,
Yeah. It's,
ugh,
with certain friends, like one of my friends from grad school, really close friend, I talk about the friend all the time, Amber. We had made plans last week, like, okay, we're finally gonna meet up. We haven't been able to meet up in a year because remember the new job that I started, she had some stuff going on, and then just last semester was really chaotic because we had moved back on campus. And so we're
mhm.
like, okay, yeah, we're gonna meet up on Friday. We're building up to Friday. The temperature keeps going up. Like literally, the weather keeps inching up to the point where it said it was supposed to be like 102 or 3 degrees on Friday. And so
Mhm.
she texted me Friday morning, like, hey, yeah, we committed to meeting, but do you think you want to push it back? So, yeah, there's a certain, at least with that friendship, there's a certain understanding where, like, we know how kind of at the last minute things happen, things come up. Like, her issue was her dog. She wanted her dog to be outside in 102-degree weather.
Right.
I get it. So, in certain instances, where like a commitment that I'll make certain people, I know how to approach them when I want to either back out of the commitment or change the plans slightly. Like,
Yeah, I mean, you have to know the personality of the person,
yeah.
or at least have that relationship so you can see how to honor that commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I tell someone, yeah, like I'll wash your car, depending on who the person is, I may not physically wash it, but I'll may have a mobile service to come wash it,
It will be
or I'll have
washed.
right, or I'll take the car to go to a car wash service. But maybe, I'm not going to be the one physically washing it, but it'll
Right.
get done.
Right.
So it's, making that commitment and then honoring it once you make it, because it wasn't until I want to say 2000, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
16ish, that I realized how bad it had gotten. I had just moved to Virginia, met this young lady and said, oh man, we're both new to the area. Let's go to this pottery class. Oh, what? Let's go to. It wasn't a pottery class. Let's go to the mall or something. Whatever we were supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
It was the museum. That's what it was. We were supposed to go to the museum, and I'm running like 15 minutes late. So I call her when I'm in the car so that I'm not like, hey, getting out of the shower on my way.
Right.
I'm I'm in the car. I give her a call and all I hear is hello. I was like, excuse me?
You're like, oh, let me turn around, go back
Excuse
home.
and known her like I had only known her like a week or two,
Mm-hmm.
and so because we were both starting the job at the same time, and so I said, so I said, "Are you still asleep?" Because maybe I mistook what that voice
Yeah.
was. I said, "Are you still asleep?" She was like, "Oh, let me call you right back." And so
That doesn't answer the question.
so I was like, look, and I've pretty much always been this person. I said that I wanted to go to this place, like I'm going to go to this place.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still on my way going to the place. She calls me back and says, "Hey, I thought you were going to flake. So I typically don't make any moves to go anywhere until I know for sure that it's a for sure thing." And I was like,
May I
I,
ask, did she ever call or text or anything to confirm whether you actually
no,
wanted to do the thing? That's interesting.
no, there was no confirmation the day before. and we were doing this around 10 or 11 in the morning
Hmm.
and on a Saturday. And so I think that we had made plans that Thursday or something like that. And it was kind of one of those things like on Friday, okay, see you tomorrow, see you tomorrow. And, and I'm just like, I know that I have to drive a ways to get to it was a science museum. I had to drive a little ways to get out there. And I'm just like, so you weren't even going to call me
Not even a text.
to, right, like just say, hey, like, are we still on?
Right.
And I'm just like, well, either way, I'm going to go. So if she doesn't show up, whatever. But if she does, then like, hey, like, what's going on?
Hmm.
But ever since then, after that point, if I said, or if we agreed to do something, like she knew that I would like come through or show up.
Yeah.
So we didn't have an issue after that. But I didn't realize, and that was my first time on the East Coast. I didn't know how people like did it, but I'm just
That's how
like,
you get down over here.
um. So you weren't going to do it until, and I realized that that's how a lot of people were until you like develop a rapport with them.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to make moves until you say like you're 5 minutes out, and then they
That's
would rather be 30 minutes late than to be there on time and be stood up.
that's so weird to me, and I don't know if we've talked before or if I've mentioned before about my time stuff, just like how I'm very anal about with time and being on time for stuff. You know that. Um, like
Do
tonight,
I?
tonight, even though you said give me a few minutes, I still sat down, set up at 7:30 just to be set up because I'm a routine person. I don't like routine, but I fall into routines. So if I plan something with somebody, it's sort of interrupting my routine. And so I
Hmm.
make a point to plan around it so that things
Right,
can still go how they're supposed to, or how in my mind, how I think they're supposed to go before and after. Especially if I don't know the person, then I want to put my best foot forward. And then
right.
we can talk about like, oh yeah, I was so early this time, ha ha ha, and then we can joke about like, yeah, I'm usually 5 minutes late for stuff, but to just fly by the seat of your pants and to just be like, oh, okay, last time I talked to you on Thursday, you said I'll see you on Saturday, and then what, 15 minutes after the thing is supposed to be like,
Yeah, so we were supposed to be there like around 10 or 11, and I was leaving my house. It took me 25 minutes to get there, and I was leaving 15 minutes later than what I should have. So I was leaving like 10 to 11 or 10 to 10. And I call and I'm just like, hey, so I'm going to be about 15 minutes late. And she's like,
she's like,
oh,
oh, girl, I just woke
mm.
up.
I'm just like,
That's terrible.
and when I heard she was asleep, I was already planning
You
my whole
already
day of
like,
just
oh,
like,
okay,
well, I'll go to the science museum. I'm gonna go
yep.
get breakfast. I'll go do these things, whatever, whatever.
Hmm.
And it's interesting that that's how people are.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times I just feel like we have too many options. Like it's good to have some options, but when you have too many options, or when I'll speak for me personally, when
Hmm.
I have too many options, I I don't really make the choices that are necessary
Like,
because
do
I
you
want
get
to be.
overwhelmed or
I become overly analytical of everything
okay?
because I have to analyze what comes in what package and what are the benefits of each.
Hmm.
And it's like, well, I could do this, this, and this. And it's like, okay, what is it that you want to do? What are the options on the menu? Can you figure out what's going to best suit your needs right now? And there's like a lot of analyzing that goes on in that.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's really unnecessary. We don't need all these choices. But because we have access to everything all the time, it makes it hard.
And even if the choice isn't applicable to your situation, you still have to weigh like, okay, why isn't this applicable to my situation? I get where you're coming from. Like, even if it's not like obviously the first time you look at something, you're like, okay, this clearly isn't for me.
Hmm.
but then you start acting like, well, it could be. And you make it an option, even though you're going to come back around to the fact that it's not an option. So, yeah, okay, I get where you're coming from. Sorry, I just
Yeah.
analyzed your situation in
No,
my
you're
mind.
really, yeah, you were really stepping on my toes there. That was, you didn't have to call me out like that.
I'm sorry.
You didn't have to
I'm
call
not
me out.
actually, though. I'm not actually sorry.
You're not sorry.
For
No,
the record,
no. You like, this is fun for you.
I am anti sorry, if that's a thing.
I feel like it's hard, especially, okay, so
The word is unapologetic, by the way. I know that anti sorry is not a
okay,
word.
I
I'm
was I
sorry.
was
Go ahead.
gonna I was gonna let you live
I know
because
exactly what I'm
I have
doing.
been getting on you a lot lately, and
I
I
know
was just gonna let you live.
I know exactly what I'm doing here, okay?
Okay. All right.
That
Okay.
was a rhetorical choice. My
Okay.
desk is shaking.
Mm. But one of the things that I've been thinking about is how we're bombarded with all these options and how I have a lot of choices I can make.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I make the choice on impulse, and sometimes I make the choice analytically, like based on logic or intellect or patterns or whatever. And a lot of those times they tend to work out because
Mm-hmm.
life has to work, right?
Yep.
They tend to work out eventually, but I feel like initially sometimes I don't make the best choices. So when I get into a good groove, like where I am now in life,
Mm-hmm.
I tend to sit on edge waiting for the other shoe to drop, like suspicious about how good things are going. But I also find myself not looking for a way out. It's hard,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm actively trying to not self-sabotage.
Okay, I was about to call you out.
Yes.
I was literally about to call you out. Not necessarily with self sabotage, but somewhat because, yeah, things are moving smoothly and things are going well, but it's almost like I want you to take inventory of the fact that things are going well based on the choices that you have made because that is your doing. And the way that things are moving smoothly, it's because you are moving with confidence and you are making these different moves with confidence. So, yeah, the universe has its power and stuff, but that's also you trusting yourself and doing what's best for yourself. And that's something, don't lose track of that. Why do I keep giving you these motivational speeches every week?
I feel like I feel like it's necessary. Like I need it. We have this give and take
it's
thing
a,
because
it's a
I was
reminder.
helping you last year, and then this year, like you're helping me. It's like a give and take kind of thing.
Yeah, don't discount yourself with that. Like, yeah, you're in a scary situation in a good way because it's an unfamiliar situation and it's a situation that you've been building towards for what, five or no, we went to Seattle 5 years ago.
We went 5 years ago, but we've been talking about it for
Yeah, we've been
7.
talking about like 6 or 7 years.
Hmm.
So it's something that you've been building towards for all that time. And I think you mentioned a few weeks back, like, okay, you played out for years, all these different scenarios, trying all these different things and seeing which choice is the best choice. And everything always came back to where you are at this moment. So
Hmm.
you are where you plan to be. You are exactly where you're intended to be. So whatever you did, it got you there. It's getting you through. You got food in your fridge. You got a nice knife set. You like you have all these things that you have been building towards, and that even when you were telling me about the knife set, you're like, okay, should I do this? I'm wondering, should I do this? Should I get one at a time, or should I do it this way? I didn't really say much about it. I'm like, because you make good choices, more for the most part. No, I'm just playing.
No, I've had some questionable choices in there. We know. We
Yeah,
you were there for quite a few
yeah,
of them.
yeah.
For quite a few of them.
Yeah, and the high voice is necessary when you think about those
Mm,
things.
mm-mm, mm-mm.
But even those choices that weren't ideal, they had to happen to get you to this
Yes,
point.
true.
As corny and cliche as that sounds, like, okay, even if something doesn't work out, like if it's you make the choice that you thought was right in the moment, and then it goes to crap, and then you're like, oh, I wish I hadn't done it. You wouldn't have been where you are right now if you didn't make those choices, as difficult as they were, as challenging as they were, as annoying as those choices were. Um, right? It had to happen. I feel like that's actually like in this position that I'm in now. Remember, I'd spent before I even took the job that I'm at now. We talked about my trepidation regarding that position, my hesitance towards taking that
Hmm.
position because I would have to step away from teaching. I would have to work a full work week, which I've talked before about how I don't believe in the 40-hour work week.
Right,
Like
right.
on a philosophical scale, workism is a thing. I can share the articles with you guys if you guys want to read it. Um,
We
but
still haven't talked about that on the show.
we
We need to
haven't.
talk about workism. Yes.
Yeah, and there's been more research done on it. And actually, this week with the institute, I'm gonna get back on topic. But with the institute that I'm doing this week, the Writing Center Institute, they're
Hmm.
doing something on workism. I think on Wednesday, one of the workshops.
Mm.
So I'm really looking forward to that one. I think I might miss the live version because of my biweekly deep tissue massage is scheduled for that time. But
Ah,
I'm gonna catch the video. But I digress. Um, Even going with the picking this job, I don't know. On some level, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a weird position for me to be in, but I know that it's gonna work out. Like even when they messed up the stuff back in the fall, when they messed up the hiring stuff, my
mm-hmm.
coworkers and stuff, they were freaking out. They were like, "Oh no, you should be angry. You should be doing this." Yeah, I was angry. I was steaming inside, but I knew that whatever was gonna happen, it was out of my control to a certain degree. I sent some angry emails, of course, some very strongly worded professional emails because they were from my work account.
I don't think they were angry. I think they were necessarily,
They were assertive and direct
yes.
with a tinge of anger at the end of each one. There was a tinge of anger. I'm not even gonna lie, but all of my coworkers, they were like, "I don't know how you're handling this like this." I'm like, honestly, I'm at the point where it's like, okay, one, I know what to expect from our district because I know that they tend to not do things in the most logical manner, and two, everything works out in the end. And so if I tell myself that everything is going to work out, it's going to fall where it needs to, wherever I end up, that's where I'm meant to be. That helps cut down on my anxiety with stuff, um, just as a general
Yeah.
tip. But I feel like you're also somewhat in that position where you're still analyzing things, but you're not getting hung up on them like you used to because you sort of made some of the I don't even want to call them missteps, but some of the choices that didn't put you on the most direct path to where you are now, but
Hmm.
you've learned from those mistakes. Like you went off course from whatever that direct path was, but you were able to carve the path and be like, okay, if I go off track again, this is how I get back to where I want to be, which is Seattle, in going to the market, going to West Seattle, and all that stuff, right? So,
Right.
yeah, long winded way to say don't discount yourself. You are where you are because of the choices that you've made. So, hold on to that in a good way. I'm
Thank
not saying
you.
like, oh, you deserve this. You deserve this. No, you deserve this in a good way.
It can be difficult for me, I think, to accept that the work that I have put in, when especially when there's so many false starts
Mm-hmm.
and there's so many setbacks and there's so many side steps, and then I get distracted by a side quest or four.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm chasing butterflies over here, or wrangling some kids over here, or visiting some people over here, and I just end up in all these side quests, and it feels like I'm not really going in a direction. But I firmly believe that, the Bible says that all things work together for the good of those who love
Mm-hmm.
the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And I feel like absolutely that is a testimony that is my life. Because even though I have dreamed, prayed, cried, longed, wrote, all this other
Vision
stuff.
boards.
Oh my gosh, it was all like um about what it's going to be like, where I'm going to, like, I would have, like, God really outdid himself.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea about how good it could be here. And so I think that I haven't gotten out of that I need to work for it to earn it
Survival mindset.
mode.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
that okay. I have to get there. I have to get there. I have to get there. You're
right.
it's almost deprogramming yourself from working towards the goal, and
Mhm.
not realizing that you are in the goal right now. Not even that you've met the goal.
Right.
You're living the goal of what you set your mind to. Set your mind to. Yeah, sounds right. Don't let me get
Yeah.
it. Just go. Yeah,
Yeah, we're going to move on. But I think that it's you're absolutely right when I am considering the work that I had to do to get here and I'm like realizing like snap, like this is my address, like this is where I
yes.
live.
You can breathe now. You can
And
give yourself that moment to just exhale.
having that freedom comes with such a release of all the stuff that I had to carry to get through to defend myself as I was going through the quote unquote trenches to get here
Hmm.
and doing all the work. But all that, like the armor that I had on has become too heavy. And now that I'm trying to relax into the promised land, so to speak, or into
Yeah.
the fruition of all the work that I've done. Now that I'm trying to relax into it, it feels like okay. One of the fears. Let me back up. One of the fears that I had when I actually put Seattle back on the table
Hmm.
earlier this year was in I think in January, February. One of the biggest fears that I had was remember the movie Soul
Yeah.
when Joe Gardner got to play with Althea and he was like, so what do we do after?
Hmm.
And it was almost like he was empty. He got what he wanted, but it wasn't what he thought it was. And so
Yeah.
she told the story of the fish in the ocean. For those of you who don't know, quick recap. Um, Althea, played by I think her name was Althea. Okay, the jazz musician. She's a great jazz musician in New York in the movie. I can't remember what her name is. Anyways, the story that she said after Joe Gardner was like, "So what do we do after? What do we do after this? Like we had such a great set." She's like, "You come back tomorrow night and we'll do it all again." And he was like, "Huh?" Well, because he had been working so hard to get this thing, and now that he's got it, he's like, okay, but where's the rest of it? Her story, she essentially gave an anecdote of there was a fish who was swimming around in the ocean, and he goes up to this older fish, and he was like, hey, I'm looking for the ocean. The older fish was like, the ocean? You're in the ocean. And the little fish was like, this blue stuff? Like, no, I know that I'm in the blue stuff. What I'm looking for is the ocean.
Hmm.
And the bigger fish was like, you're in the ocean. So you're kind of not realizing that you are where you're searching for, essentially, or
Hmm.
it's not, it doesn't look how you thought it would look in your mind. And I didn't want to get here and feel a sense of emptiness or feel a sense of plateau where
Yeah.
essentially like my dreams run out.
Right.
It was like I finally achieved what I wanted and it's not what I thought
Like,
it would
oh, what's
be. But
next? Yeah.
yeah, but I don't have that sense of like my life has stopped,
No.
or that sense of, well, I've achieved this and that's it. But it's like, okay, I achieved this, now what else is there?
Yeah.
Now there's a little bit of confidence. It's kind of like, checking off a box of just like my to-do list. Like,
Hmm.
first thing, create a to-do list. Done. What's
Right.
next? Put the pencils away. Got it. Done. Just doing small things on the to-do list. And
Hmm.
one thing I'm gonna tell y'all as a side note, one thing that has helped me because it's like keep my place clean, because I just end up putting hoodies everywhere, is don't put it down, put it away. I say that to myself every single time, and my hoodies always stay hung up, except for just now because I just came back home. But normally my hoodies are in the closet.
Usually.
Yes, usually my hoodies are in the closet. Don't put it down, put it away.
Okay. I guess. Her name is Dorothea, by the way. I looked it up. Yeah.
Dorothea Williams, right?
Played by Angela Bassett,
Yes,
the
she did a
legend.
good job. She did
Sorry,
such a.
that's my
Oh my gosh,
contribution
I
to this
loved her
part.
in American Horror Story. Oh, Angela Bassett. Yes.
Let Leah have her moment.
Yeah, but it's, I don't know why I sit on edge waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, either this is real or it's going to be taken away and all this other stuff. And I feel like that sense of, um, like, I need to experience it as much as I can. So, um, one, so I like started doing meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, y'all, I'm getting back into it. I was able to do it for 7 minutes today. So my goal is to be able to do a little bit more every day, just so that I can get back into it. But start doing meditation, and really start doing things that show my self appreciation. What I did notice is that, I had stopped doing things that helped me to increase my self discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And like you talked about, a few weeks ago, is following your intuition.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped listening to myself.
Why?
And I don't know. I don't know if it was an act of rebellion or what, but started really taking myself seriously and started really honoring where we are and not looking for, um, others' opinions or validations. Like, it's really checking in. Like, so that situation that happened a couple days ago,
Mm-hmm.
when I was really, really hot, and I had to like really, I was like, I need to call somebody. I'm like, I was steaming,
She texted me
but
at 8:30 in the morning.
I was hot,
I was like,
but I was just like,
"Am I
listen,
awake?"
my blood pressure is up. Everybody got to be up, but I had to take a moment because I was like, okay, because I called my sisters,
Mm-hmm.
and one of my sisters answered, and she was just like, I'm still in the bed, what is going on? And I'm just like, no, you need to match my hype. And she was like, no, let's think about this logically. And so, but before I got on the phone with her, I had to keep asking myself, what's really wrong?
Mm-hmm.
What are you really upset about? What happened that now you're upset? And what is it that you actually know versus what you're assuming?
Mm-hmm.
So asking myself those questions and getting back into who I am, getting back in touch with that, that is starting to help me to trust myself more, and to know that, I'm sorry, I heard beeps and I didn't know what that was.
She's like,
Um,
"I live alone. What's going on here?"
right? I'm just like, and it's very well insulated, so I can't really hear anything outside my front door.
It shouldn't.
Um, right. but getting back in touch with me, with who I am, it's helping me to learn how to regulate my emotions more, so that I'm not just letting every little thing
Mm-hmm.
get to me, because I was a hothead. And so, um, getting back into that, um, and really listening to myself has really helped me, actually in these last couple days, just be more calm
Yeah.
and more, accepting. So I'm hoping that I can do more of that, to practice more self discipline, and to, because self discipline, to me, showing myself respect
Mm-hmm.
by, taking care of myself, getting outside for a walk, sitting in the sun for a little while,
Mm-hmm.
doing the things that make me happy, whether it's taking a walk at the park, walking by the pier, or visiting another part of Seattle that I have not been to, or even just catching the train to just go to wherever, doing little things like that. I think, helps to helps me to honor who I am, and to bring me self discipline. If I know that I'm supposed to be at work, at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, whenever, if I'm supposed to show up to a meeting, being there on time.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that that's a problem, but
It's not.
it's really not. I'm employed, so I feel
Yeah.
like
They
I feel
haven't
like
complained.
I feel like doing those things. I feel like doing those things really help me to see myself as more than just, because I treat other people very well,
Mm-hmm.
typically. And so I need to do myself the kindness of treating myself with the same, if not more,
Mm-hmm.
respect through
Respect and
self discipline.
compassion.
Yeah. That
So
compassion part is a little bit more difficult, but I'm learning.
okay,
I'm learning.
I, you're getting there. I will give you that. You are. You are
I'm
learning.
learning. You know.
Yeah. 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 You're getting there.
How's that puzzle coming?
Oh, I'm not doing the puzzle right now. I'm. I finished my New York Lego set instead. Remember, I had the compassion to tell myself, look, you don't have to finish this puzzle. You're frustrated. That's normal. That's okay. You're allowed to be frustrated. Step away from it. That's self compassion right there. I see my reaction, I acknowledge my reaction, I validate my reaction, and I ask my reaction, what do you need from this situation? And my reaction said, I need a break from this. I can't look at this San Francisco skyline again with that black sky and the blue ocean
Mm.
in solid colors because it's a minimalist puzzle because I'm a minimalist person. So why would you even bring that up?
I was just curious. You were talking about compassion and respect, and I just wanted to see, where you were.
No, that's more of a what is it like finish what you start type thing. So yeah,
Well,
it's
that goes back to like the way you respect yourself and the way you treat your things.
yeah to a certain extent I think because my mindset is why I look at it like why was I so intent on even displaying the puzzle. And when I think about it, it's like, okay, I was trying to flip the puzzle in the first place because, oh, it's expected of me. Like people were like, oh, are you going to glue it? Are you going to glue it? Are you going to hang it up? Which I plan to do. But
Oh.
part of it for me was the bigger accomplishment, which was, hey, I finished this thing. Even if it was only completed for like 3 days, I finished it. I got pictures of the completed version of it. And on some level, that's enough for me. And in order to not stress myself out over it by setting like this artificial deadline, like, oh, I have to finish it by the end of June or I have to finish it by the end of summer or something, then I know that I have to step away from it and work on this puzzle instead.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
Yep.
goodness.
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. So this is my
My
next.
brain.
Yeah. Yeah. So that one, that, sorry, you probably can't hear me right now, but that one is my next goal. But first, I'm going to finish my Lego sets because those are somewhat mindless, just kind of put it together. It's like, okay, I'm building something. There's a purpose. I can still zone out, but
Hmm.
smaller increments. So don't worry, the puzzle's going to get finished, Leah. I promise you. I guarantee it. Not even saying that just to get you off my back. It's gonna happen.
Sure.
No, I'm
It
positive.
kind
It's
of feels
still
like.
the smaller pieces are still tucked away because some pieces stuck together when things went to crap.
Hmm.
Um, so they're tucked away. The pieces that are still together are still together, and they're waiting for me when I have the patience and the wherewithal to not get frustrated and box it all over again.
Mm.
So
Mm.
there are steps to this grieving process, Liam.
I'm glad you know yourself that well.
That, thank you. I, apparently, I don't take compliments well. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you for recognizing that.
Yeah, I realize that. Even when my mom gives me a compliment over the past few months, I have to stop myself from like explaining it, and I'm just like, okay, thank you, or like, oh yeah, I had the bottom of my forehead or something. Like, no, I'm like, okay, thank you, appreciate it. My therapist, he's like, oh, I like your shoes. I'm like, thank you.
How would you explain shoes? What is the issue with accepting compliments?
I feel like they put me on center stage. Like I don't like feeling like I'm the center of attention. Plus, if somebody points out like, "Oh, I like your shoes," "Oh, your pants are nice," "Your shirt is nice," I always have this idea that it's sort of like a backhanded compliment. You know, like Mean Girls, where they're like, "Oh, I love your shoes. Where'd you get
Oh,
them?" I know for the most part that's not. Well, honestly, like 99% of the time, that's not the case. When people are complimenting you on something, they genuinely mean it,
right.
because people that are going to make fun of you or something aren't going to go out of their way to point stuff out to a total
Especially
stranger.
nowadays, yeah.
Yeah, they don't know if I'm the homeless person that attacked my brother. If I'm gonna while out on them. Yeah, we didn't talk about that on here. That happened a few weeks ago. But yeah, it makes me feel like I'm on center stage. I still can't believe that happened. Freaks me out.
Mm.
But it makes me feel like I'm a center stage, and it makes me feel like I have to justify things. And that's just sort of my default anyway. Like I'm always in the mindset of, okay, I have to justify why I got these. Oh, they only cost this much, or oh, I got them from this place. This is the only place I could find them. Oh, it writes up in this weird way, like oh, the sleeves are too short or something. So I'll always think about what could be wrong just to sort of temper it, so that I won't feel like I'm on center stage, and also so that other people won't feel if somebody else didn't get complimented or something, so that they're not like, oh, why didn't I get something? Why didn't I get complimented? So almost like not belittling myself or not demeaning. What is it? Diminishing myself, so that other people feel comfortable. Don't worry, we're working on that in therapy too. Uh,
Yes, we do not shrink ourselves at Take a
no,
Space podcast. We
we don't
don't
do
do
that
that.
anymore. We don't do that anymore.
No.
I sent out a tweet today. I'm the only black person in the entire institute. Yeah, there are other people of color, but it's different if there are other black people there, because there were
Right.
multiple people from other demographics there, but there were no other black people. Man, woman, non binary, nothing. It was just me. And I noticed that early on. I listened to the voices and stuff when people were doing their introductions. If they couldn't turn on their mic or their cameras, I listened to the voices. Um, it was a weird space to be in, but I didn't diminish myself in that moment either. So just that's just going to the diminishing thing. Sorry, sort of off topic. Feeling some type of way about that. I'm sorry.
I really
Clearly,
I don't want to get used to being the only one in the meetings,
no.
but it's hard for me to talk about it because I'm used to like trying to make other people feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm out of that space a little bit where
Mm-hmm.
now when I talk to leaders and they ask my honest opinion and I express to them that, well, you are pushing diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, why am I the only one?
That's literally what is happening in our center, where our coordinator went to the campus mission statement and the district mission statement actually, and she was like, okay, you guys are talking about all these different things about inclusivity and bringing on students that reflect the student body, or bringing on staff and stuff that reflect the student body, but they have a lot of policies in place that directly impact lower income students, which most of
Mm,
our lower income students come from black and brown communities. And
mhm,
so like if they drop down to just taking 5 units or something because like class has an odd number of units, then they can't work. Or if they fall, their GPA falls below a certain thing, they can't work. Or if all these weird stipulations that tend to affect the students who need the jobs the most, and the students
mhm.
who would actually start to help our center diversify. Um, like I said, it's a very weird situation to be in, because it's like that in most composition circles, where there's not a lot of black representation at all. A lot of the English majors that I've met that are black, they either come from creative writing background or a literature background, but not really composition or rhetoric. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know how to address that, but it is something that I'm paying closer attention to, and that I'm researching more, because
Yeah.
I don't like it at all. Because it made me feel like, and I talked about this before, it made me feel like the fact that there weren't any black professors at the college that I went to, it made me feel like I wasn't supposed to be in that place. Black English professors, I should say. Sorry.
Yeah.
Representation matters.
It
And
it does, and I don't think that I ever thought of like, I mean, obviously you're in English, so you think
yeah,
about the different departments and different avenues because English to me is just English. I
yeah,
don't break out. the people who teach rhetoric versus the people who teach composition versus the people who
Mm-hmm.
teach literary or whatever. I don't really
Mm-hmm.
break it out. So it's really interesting that hearing it broken out like that. But like now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think there is a right way to break the system.
Mm-mm.
And as a person who regularly deals with feeling like she doesn't belong in
Mm-hmm.
certain spaces,
Mm-hmm.
there's no right way for me to squeeze in or shrink myself or
Right.
to kind of come in through the back door, whatever the case. Like there's no right way to do that, so I
Right.
just have to show up unapologetically me and be present to take every opportunity I can,
Mm-hmm.
not to show that hey, we're capable, but so that,
Get your foot in.
yeah, because I want to be able to. I think my thing is being able to show up so that I'm able to get into the rooms of the people who affect those changes.
Right.
Because if my brand is good enough, then I'll be able to be in rooms, my name will be in rooms that I can't get in.
Mm-hmm.
But if my name is in there, then at least people are aware of me.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they're aware of me, it makes it easier for me to discuss with, whether they're district leaders, market leaders,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever officers of whatever. I can talk to them more plainly and not have to sugarcoat it or make them feel good or whatever the case may be. I don't have to carry the weight of protecting the Fabergé egg of their feelings
Mm-hmm.
to say that this may be the norm, but it's not right.
Right. Yeah. One of the things that I should clarify actually at Sac State, just to call it because I went to two colleges, so just to be clear, at Contra Costa College, where we both went to
Hmm.
Sac State too.
I
With
was gonna
Contra
say
Costa
we
College,
both, yeah.
yeah, there were all black professors. So even at Sac State, when there was no black faculty in the English department, it made it seem like I wasn't supposed to be there, but I never gave them the chance to make it seem like I wasn't going to be there, if that makes
Mm,
sense. Like,
yeah.
yeah, it didn't seem like, oh, okay, they're all white professors here and maybe a few other people of color. But yeah, that's strange. I'm still here, whatever, right? So I should clarify that it wasn't necessarily that I didn't feel like I was supposed to belong. It was like it didn't feel like there was a space for me there, that it felt uncomfortable, but I
Mm,
never let it stop me from being there. I'm happy with the position that I'm in now, with the writing center, because I do have some sort of say over like how what our recruitment efforts look like and what our hiring practices look like, which students we're actually bringing on, like whether, okay, if their GPA is like 1/2 point over, okay, maybe we'll bring them on just in the class, so that
hmm.
way next semester we can bring them on right immediately as a paid tutor. Um, but I feel like I have more control over bringing more students into the writing space in this role, oddly, than I did in a teaching position, because I actually have some kind of say over like the hiring practices and
Mm,
training the students and stuff, and actually having a black face. Ooh, that sounds bad. Having a black
mm.
person in,
Not just the face, but the
yeah, that sounds,
entirety of the
a
person.
black body in that space to show them like, hey, you, we belong here. We have to make sure that they know that we belong here.
Yeah.
Um, that's been one of the, honestly, one of the more rewarding parts of this job so far. Um, Having the students come back to me continuously, especially the black students, because they book repeat appointments with me, and
Hmm.
having the tutors really connect with me, our black student tutors really connect with me, so that they can just shoot the breeze with me and just feel comfortable with it and talk to me about stuff that they're not comfortable talking with the coordinator about, with our supervisor really. But Like those kinds of things matter. Plus, it affects how we tutor and stuff, and that actually impacts the students that we work with, um, probably more than administration realizes. But hey, we're in Sacramento, so
I
Sacramento.
I agree and can appreciate about the idea of them not having the opportunity to make you
Mm-hmm.
feel like you don't belong. Because as you were talking,
Mm-hmm.
I had a flashback. One of the graduate assistants for the debate program, we got into it a lot. And I think she is a lot of the reason why I try to take care of the way that I speak to certain people,
Mm-hmm.
because they can't handle it when my experience doesn't match their expectation.
Oh.
When I say that there is a lot of whitewashing that happens at Sac State, and it
Mm-hmm.
is more white than black and has more opportunities for white people, blah 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 blah
Yes.
blah, and all this other stuff, and I think I told her that I didn't tell her I had a prejudice. It was something silly about like the like eating food that that people that they prepared. I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna partake in that. She was like, oh, but that makes me sad. Now, why would you say that? And I was like, because it's a lived experience and you just have to respect that. Or don't, up to you. But I realized that in talking to her, because she was like, this is the most diverse place. And I'm like, you have not been outside of Sacramento, have
It's
you?
not.
I was like, the campus? She's like, no, well, not the campus, but the city itself. It's really not.
It's really not.
It's really not. And so she was, and I was, how old were we? We were like 23,
You were like
22.
20. Yes,
Yeah,
13 years
20,
ago. So you're like 22. Yeah.
22. Yeah. And having this conversation with this 25-year old, and just like in like before debate class, and she was just really doing the white woman tears thing of just like, I can't believe you would say this. And it's just like, you do understand that even though I come from a well-to-do family, you know, and I'm not impoverished or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that, I have been given many opportunities that other people don't have, regardless of color. I feel like you don't understand that there is a certain prejudiceness that happens, a certain prejudice that happens, or that I experience because of the way I look. And I didn't even
Yeah.
have locks then.
Right.
I didn't even have locks at that point, but I was still seen as less than. I wasn't to be taken
Mm-hmm.
seriously. I was treated, I was like, it was weird being fetishized by some of the other white guys in debate camp,
Mm-hmm.
because, ooh, it's a black girl. Oh, I wonder if she, and I'm like, this is a real, like,
This
that
actually
was,
happens.
it was so weird for me. It was so weird for me. But but it made me absolutely not want to be, even though I had some really good black professors there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I had one good black professor there, Fundi
Yes.
Kaburi. Fundi Kaburi,
Will it in?
Professor Fundi Kaburi is was an awesome professor. I
What
loved
department
his
was that?
class.
Was that communications?
Ethnics, no, ethnic studies.
It was in soci. Oh, that might be the same professor that was Jordan's. That ended up being one of Jordan's mentors.
Oh, really?
I think.
I wonder, because Professor Funikaburi is, oh my gosh, he was my favorite professor there,
Mm-hmm.
like absolutely hands down my favorite professor. And he was, and actually when I was leaving, he was starting a black think tank and wanted me to be a part of it, and I was like,
Oh,
oh, why couldn't you start it this past semester?
it's like I'm on my way
But
out.
but being in that environment, I absolutely was just like, no, because even in the communications department,
Yeah.
there were no black people in the
No,
leadership positions and admin. Absolutely not.
not at all.
It was barely any. I was always one black person on the debate team. There may have
Yes.
been another one, but that was it. But it
Right.
was just like, it was really, that was a place where I was just like, I don't belong here, and I don't even want to try.
Right.
I really don't want to try. But I
And
absolutely, but it made me want to prepare high school students
for that.
Yeah, because I'm just like listening to some of the way that some of them talk. I'm like, oh, with just maybe a semester worth of courses
Hmm.
in public speaking, you would be amazing. You would be beyond your like, oh
Right.
my gosh.
That's sort of how I approach teaching, like with my composition classes.
Hmm.
I make it known, even honestly, in all of my job interviews that I've done over like the past few years since I got my master's, I make it known like I don't agree with the idea of traditional academic English and like, oh,
Hmm.
students are supposed to write like this. So I make that known in the interviews and I tell my students straight up, yeah, let's talk about why this idea sucks and why it doesn't make sense and how it devalues our home dialects and how we talk and how second language or English ESL students, how their home dialects actually are beautiful and they can be translated
Right.
beautifully onto paper if they have the chance. So my class is sort of like a dance where I'm challenging students to challenge that or tasking students to challenge that concept and that's been steeped in us, but also teaching them how to work within that construct because I know that once they go to like their engineering classes and their chemistry classes when they have to write essays, their math classes, I still don't understand why math classes assign essays. That feels like a third circle type moment for students, but I digress. Um, I'm preparing them like, okay, yeah, you're going to have to learn how to write within this construct because we can't dismantle the system ourselves. But here's how you can take those same skills and get your point across for when you're writing like one of your Instagram posts or something, or writing something to
Right.
your aunt, so that you're not just saying, oh, I only write for work, or oh, I only write when I have to conduct business or something. You can find that passion on the paper instead of you feeling like you're boxed in because you don't quote unquote write right.
Yeah.
Like I hate that idea. Um, but I get for me that kind of goes back to what you're saying. Like I'm really preparing students in my classes to navigate that system, but to also challenge it and to push back on it because I know
Absolutely.
I'm one lonely, not lowly. I said lonely little adjunct over here. Um, Little adjunct working in the writing center right now. I'm not going to affect the change that I want to see in this moment, but I
Hmm.
can create little steps so that they're little soldiers going out to challenge the system along with me. And then I can rally them up. Not rally them up. That sounds like a conservative thing. I can we can we can, we can get together. We can get together and confer and not stage an insurrection, but
Oh
really push
gosh.
back
Oh
and
gosh.
really bring something to the table where we're like, oh, yeah, okay, we worked within the system, we got our degrees and stuff, but look at how we write this way and how this is more passionate, how this is more authentic for
Hmm.
us. And I think just having the space for students to be authentic in that way, at least in my discipline, that will go a long way in making students feel like they belong. Because most of the students that I interact with, they say, I hate English. And the first thing that they go to is grammar. It's like, oh, it's the grammar rules, it's the grammar problems and stuff. And so once I'm able to explain to students, okay, this is why in our dialect, in African American vernacular, this is why we flip certain words around. And yeah, it still makes sense, so how can we utilize that to make sure that it still makes sense, but you're not losing yourself in the process? Um, but yeah, I say that to say if we can get a more authentic voice in the writing spaces and in the academic spaces, then we would all feel like we would belong in any space in academia, I think.
That is very well put. And I want to say poignant.
Poignant? Poignant.
I want to say it's poignant. That's the word that comes to mind. But I absolutely agree because um we're taught to speak devoid of any emotion.
Yep.
And
Remove yourself from it. No personal pronouns
yes,
or anything.
you're like, so you essentially provide information about something that you have consumed, but you are essentially removed from it, so
Yep.
it's this impersonal piece of work that is not supposed to be art.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be standardized enough to be able to reach X number of people in an audience.
That is the
And
banking theory by Paulo Freire. It's in Pedagogy of the Oppressed. The idea that the professor just dumps information into students' heads and the students
mhm,
just regurgitate it back. There's been, at least in composition, there's been a push away from that to
mhm,
where there is more freedom. But if you think about it, we were brought up with that idea where it's like, okay, we just put stuff onto paper that we've read.
mhm,
So the people who are teaching that are sort of deconstructing it and sort of tearing that house down. We're still sort of struggling with it because like sometimes I'll find myself getting tripped up like, okay, this sentence doesn't make sense. What are they even trying to say? And if I read it more than one, if I just read through it one time, I get the point across or the point is across. If I get hung up on it, like, well, it's not grammatically correct. So there's still like those things in the back of my head that are just sort of like patting me in the back of my head, like, oh, this is what your professors would have said to you.
mhm.
But we're in a weird position with that, with getting out of that idea of just regurgitating information because, yeah, it's a very strange space to be in for teaching, writing.
But there's a lot of because not even just in academia, whether
Mm-hmm.
you're in your social groups or at work with your family or whatever the case may be, the the need to show up as impartially as possible
Mm-hmm.
loses all authenticity in whatever form you're trying to show up as.
Mm-hmm.
And the loss of that authenticity makes it hard to connect with other people
Mm-hmm.
because you want to be saying, if everybody says, oh, this is an okay bowling alley, oh, this is good, this is fine, and everybody's kind of impartial to it,
Yeah.
then you would never know that Allison actually lives an hour and a half away and it took her a while to get
Right.
here.
Debbie is
And
freezing.
this is right. The food isn't great because it's making Greg sick. And, nobody's really saying anything. But if they're authentic and saying, look, there's a place that's way closer. Oh my gosh, I thought you guys wanted to come here. Well, I thought you wanted to come here.
Oh, this place
And
smells like feet. No, I don't want to come here.
right. And so instead of having a more authentic interaction
Mm-hmm.
to really exchange ideas or teaching, even as whether it's schools, home, wherever, being able to be free enough to say what you actually feel, what you actually think, without taking on the responsibility of the receiver
Right.
receiving it in XYZ way. I think that frees, especially me. It frees me up so I can say whatever it is I want to say and not have to take on the responsibility. Man, Jason's going to take this like
Mm-hmm.
wrong, or he's not going to understand it the way that I want him to understand, or
Mm-hmm.
see it the way I want him to see it. Therefore, I have to say it in um, in a way. I have to say it in a way that will make him see things, And it's like you don't have to do all that footwork. That's too much mental gymnastics, There now, I'm not saying it all the time, but typically, if you learned how to start showing up more authentically and your intentions are to be as authentic as you can. I'm not saying being an a-hole.
Right.
I'm not saying to go out here and start knocking heads.
Right.
But what I'm saying is being able to express yourself. If you don't like something, tactfully express that you don't
Yeah.
like this thing, or being able to say that I prefer this, or I'm not, that's not really my thing, without knocking somebody else for it.
Right.
Because how dare you sit next to me as I'm eating oxtails and rice to go, ew,
Right.
you're eating flesh? Who, if you don't remove yourself.
That's one of the things that I've actually gotten a lot better at. And I think it does go with what we were talking about earlier with self compassion, just
Mhm.
sort of removing myself from other people's reactions to, or when they're
Mm,
delivering stuff to me, sort of not removing myself from how I receive it, but not taking it so personally.
yeah.
Um, but like you said, there is, I think one of the things that's sort of lost on people is that there is a way to be authentic with people without being an a hole or a jerk or being real and speak your mind or whatever. Like just being
Yeah.
so like rude about it. There's a way to get your point across directly without offending people. And I think that people, um, generally speak, I don't speak about most people, but I think a good amount of people have sort of lost track of the idea that when you say something to somebody, they are going to receive it. And it's not that you're responsible for how they receive it, but there is a way that you can approach it that you aren't purposefully offending them or purposefully hurting them.
Right.
Um, I don't know if I know we talk about social media a lot on here, but I think that social media actually has made it worse because everything is so hyperbolic on there. Where like literally like okay, if somebody's wearing they see a dress on somebody walking down the street, they take a picture of the dress and everybody just starts dragging the dress. And so I think even in in-person interactions, people want to have that same moment where they're like, I'm just going to say this to get a reaction from the person, no matter what, how that's going to stick with them, no matter how that's going to make other people feel or make other people question
Mm-hmm.
things. Um, so yeah, I think that that plays a part in it. I know that going back to my discipline, there's a way, even with communications and debate and stuff, there's a way like those kinds of classes, those kinds of Leah's seminar that she's going to come out with eventually, that can help you get your point across directly. Like, okay, Debbie wore an ugly dress to the bowling alley. You want to tell her that it's ugly without telling her that it's ugly. How do you tell Debbie not to wear that dress again? Tactfully. There's a way to
Right.
say it,
You
right?
can be tactfully direct.
Yeah.
And I think I absolutely agree with you because I was in the Twitter streets earlier today and
Mm-hmm.
saw there were two videos that I saw that were or two posts that I saw that I were just like, oh my gosh. One was the older guy who was yelling at the teenager, or I think she was a teen. She
Mm-hmm.
was off camera, and he was like, "Stop talking to me! Stop talking to me!" And they went back and forth, and he was just like,
Oh,
and
the
he's
at the school.
yes.
Oh my gosh.
And so people in the comments were going back and forth, and I'm just like, there's no way to have a real conversation to know one, we don't know the backstory. Two, there's not enough information that you can um why is surmise the word that I want to use, that you can glean from this clip to say that you know the entirety of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Two, regardless if you think that he's respectful or not, this one piece of information of his entire life does not define who this man is.
Right.
And then the second clip, not defending him or the girl. I mean, I feel like if you want to be a grown up, you gonna play stupid games, win stupid prizes. That's what I gotta say about that. But then I saw the second clip, the second um, post on Twitter. I saw this tweet that said, "It's a black barbecue that starts at 3. What time y'all showing up?"
Mm-hmm.
And somebody was like, "Why the barbecue?" It was a white person that said, "Why the barbecue got to be black?" And
It makes a difference.
um, and somebody said it literally said black barbecue because black people are doing it. And then they were like, well, I just don't know why you guys would just define like black is a barbecue, right? And somebody else just tweeted racist. And I was just like, I don't I'm not saying that I don't know anything about this person to be like, oh, this person's a racist. One, I mean, yes, are they in a conversation that they don't belong in? Absolutely.
Maybe
But
just
it's
watch.
like I'm just saying they said they're white and they think that that they because there was a lot of white people in the comments who were just like, oh, I'll get there at 2:45 because I want to help set up or
Yeah.
all this other stuff, and it's just like, yeah, they were asking black people, white people were obviously commenting on it, but I feel like just commenting racist on someone else's because they're asking, why is it a black barbecue?
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, I'm giving it that tone.
Mm-hmm.
That's me. This that may
It
be
could be
the
why is it a black barbecue?
right.
Like genuine curiosity.
Yes,
But
there's
in the profile picture, were they wearing the sunglasses? Were they wearing these sunglasses? Or did they have a profile picture?
no, they were not. It was a person with their dog.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, it was a
And
person
if
with
you
their
know
dog.
what sunglasses I'm talking about, you know which sunglasses I'm talking about.
Yes, if
So,
you know, you know. If you know,
you know.
you know. But it's so weird that we do things on social media and we think that it's like, oh, this is real life, and because we're doing it so many times on social media, like we're doing it in real life, and it's like,
Yeah, it's changing the way that people interact with each other in real life.
yeah, I don't need to do things to get a rise out of
Mm-hmm.
you. Like if I want to communicate with you or if I want attention, and because of the relationship we have, I can be like, Jason, let's chat, or hey, can we get up, on FaceTime or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I want some of your attention, I can just be honest and saying, hey,
Right.
so I
Friend
haven't seen your
time.
face in a while. I feel like that should happen sometime soon. When can we make this happen? And then
Right.
you absolutely have the ability to say that, I'm not really feeling up to it,
I want to
or
talk to you.
later on this week is better, or listen, I'm not going to be free for a while. I'll let you know when I can.
Mm-hmm.
And it not be a thing of me, holding you to some kind of ridiculous standard or
Right.
expectation, you know, going after people, especially strangers, just so that you can get a rise in the hopes of going viral is,
Yeah.
it's still so wild to me. It's still
Mm-hmm.
just so wild. Like, get a personality, people.
There's so many worthwhile, meaningful conversations that can be had rather than just trying to get clicks and just trying to get a reaction out of people.
Right.
And it goes beyond clicks and stuff too. So it be because, like we said, that's going to real life interactions too. So literally,
Hmm.
there are so many more interactions that you can be having with people rather than just trying to get some kind of reaction,
Hmm.
like reaction culture
Except
or
when
whatever.
it's raining outside and you know that I don't have an umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
Don't come up to me with my earphones in my ear and then you start talking to me. You see me pull my earphone out and put it back.
Yeah,
I
just
know you saw me put my earphone back in my ear,
have people
and
forgotten
you
what the earphones mean?
continued to talk to me. So I have to take it out. It's raining. I am not wearing a windbreaker. I am
This happened
soaked.
today, didn't it?
It happened on Thursday.
Okay.
I was soaked to my shoes because I was wearing, it was like I was wearing my zip up hoodie, my sweatpants, everything, my joggers, everything was cotton.
Rookie move.
I had no
I'm sorry.
windbreaker.
That was a rookie move. How'd you let
My
that
my
happen?
all my stuff was in Texas, and so I kept
Right.
procrastinating about getting a poncho or getting a windbreaker, and I missed the bus, and I was late to my doctor's appointment, and I was like, I could either wait for the bus
Mhm.
or try to be on time for the appointment. I
That was
was
one of the
early for the appointment, and I walked.
that was one of the first things Jordan asked you. Like I think like the week after you moved
Listen,
there,
yes, I
it was like, "Did
know.
she have a coat yet? Did she get a coat?" Because
It's I know,
you came
I
from
know.
the south
I,
to rain,
and
rain, go.
I left my coats in
Really?
Texas. I did.
I didn't know that.
I only have my zip ups and my hoodies. I
Oh,
don't have any of my coats, and so yeah, I absolutely did walk down the
man.
street. I would love to have meaningful conversations with people,
But
not in the rain.
yeah,
Do
I mean,
not.
and
We're
plus,
no.
when did people forget that if I have my headphones in, assume that I can't hear you, right?
Well, I had my hair. Was my hair down? No, she saw. No, she saw me take it out.
Yes. I'm
She
talking to
saw.
my
She saw.
experience too.
Come on,
Like, I'll be walking
come
down the
on.
street and people will just walk up to me and just start talking, not even give me a chance. They see the white earbuds. They know what AirPods are now, right? Like, you didn't see me tap my ear. You didn't see me pull the headphone out. Why are you talking to me before I take it out of my ear?
Because
I will talk to
so
you, but give me a chance. Give me a minute.
just not in the rain. We're both just, no, not in the
Yeah,
rain.
not the rain. It doesn't rain here, so I don't have to worry about that. Um, it was just 103 degrees on Friday, and yesterday it sprinkled in the morning.
Oh, it warmed up to a smooth 53 degrees.
Ma'am, it is
I'm loving
currently
I'm
73
loving it.
degrees. Tomorrow it will
It's
be 93 degrees in Sacramento.
It was 60 degrees today. It's currently 53. Um,
Am I gonna be
it
ready
will
for that when I
get,
come out there?
it'll be a little bit warmer.
You say that, but this time in Sacramento, it's normally like 100 throughout the week. It's only this week. It's only going to get up to 98. I said only.
Mm.
It's only going to get up to 98. Usually, it's like 106 or something.
I like being able to wear a hoodie outside. Like, I like being able to
Like
have
being
a
able to
light
go
jacket or a
outside
hoodie.
and not being burnt in the face by the sun.
Oh no, no,
Like
that's not
when it.
that's not my testimony.
Oh, I know you're going to sign off soon, but you saw the video that I told you about with the fungus spores, right?
First of all, that's not mushrooms. It's fungus.
Mushroom is a fungus, so it's by
It's a
proxy.
type of a fungus, but not all fungi are
You saw the
mushrooms.
video, right, Leah?
Not all fungi are mushrooms.
Wasn't that disturbing? In the
Thank you so much
video,
for tuning in to another episode of Take a Space Podcast. I have been your host, Leah.
she's not
Jason,
even
can
gonna
you
let
tell
me.
people where they can find you?
You can find me and the fungus videos on.
Oh
You
my
can find me
gosh.
on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at JJ underscore Newberry, Instagram JJ underscore Newberry, TikTok. I accepted Leah as my first follower.
Finally,
It's
I
been a few weeks,
screenshotted it
okay?
too. I screenshotted it.
What? So you can just see I'm number one.
No, I screenshotted it because I didn't think that it was gonna happen. So if you ever like rescinded it, I'd be like,
Was this an accident? What happened
mm,
here? No, I'm actually gonna try to post some kind of content at some point. I don't know what to jump in on.
eventually. Well,
Someday, someday. But yeah,
after you
find me on
follow
the socials.
Jason, please be sure to follow us at Take Up Space Pod. That's Take Up Space POD on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can follow us on YouTube as well, looking for Champions of Discourse or Take Up Space Pod. And you can follow us on TikTok at Champions of Discourse. And also, please make sure to go follow Black Horror Humor. We've been recording like crazy, and we have a lot of content that's coming out soon. Especially knowing that Halloween Ends comes out in October, so we have a lot of stuff coming up in between now and there. And so, yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you so much. Please make sure that you share, like, subscribe, all the good things, and we'll see you next time. Bye.